Today on the compliance tip of the day, we're going to look at some current M&A issues under the FCPA from the domestic perspective. The compliance tip of the day. This is the podcast where we bring you daily insights and practical advice on navigating the ever-evolving landscape of compliance requirements. Whether you're a seasoned compliance professional or just starting your journey, my aim in this podcast is to provide you with a bite-sized, actionable tip to help you stay on top of your compliance game. In the chaotic world of 2025 and beyond, compliance will become even more important, and you staying on top of your game will help your company move forward. Given all the chaos of the Trump administration, it looks like M&A activity is about to be unleashed, at least if you make an appropriate campaign donation to President Trump. Why is this all important? Well, valuations can be really high depending on the class of assets you are buying. Companies that have demonstrated they could pivot during this time from a remote workforce and back remain competitive and can really drive a premium from the deal market. So it's interesting to me that the return to work can actually drive M&A. Conversely, businesses that were negatively impacted by remote work might be at fire sale prices. The bottom line here is that the multiple ends of the spectrum are in play at the same time. You see sectors like tech and digital players with huge premiums, and certainly anything associated with AI is going to have incredible multiples. So this is going to be a very challenging and interesting time for M&A. Once again, it's with particularly the new Trump administration, AI policy moving forward. I expect to see a lot of increased activity in this, but that leads to an increased risk of fraud. What I'm most worried about from the deal perspective is fraudulent financial reporting, which is when you're trying to prop up your results to demonstrate that the pandemic didn't affect you and that you're critically using AI to drive true value. Data analysis is always critical, and a huge amount of information is always available electronically. It is critical to ascertain that you have the right information to analyze. But even with financial statements, trial balances, sales registers, customer master files, and other information, you will need to test and dig into some samples and push management to get you the information and to look at the books and records for support from the transaction. Yet now, with a multitude of different types of enforcement angles from the Trump administration, certainly think about its claim for illegal DEI and anti-wokeness, whatever that is, but trade sanctions, tariffs, data protection, other types of due diligence are needed in the M&A context. You need to look at corporate culture, cybersecurity, data controls, data privacy, and export controls, and a wide variety of other areas that have traditionally been performed for due diligence, but are even more important now. You'll need to ask these questions and many others, such as what is your target's track record in these areas? Are there any sorts of red flags or other operational questions that you might have? What is the full scope of their operations? Look at the variety of stakeholders they might have. Certainly customers, certainly employees, but what about third parties, vendors? What about the locations where they're doing business? Are they going to have sustainable and sufficient electricity and power if they are AI or high energy use companies? What about Delaware versus Nevada versus Texas for a state of incorporation? So when you look at the whole holistic approach to this, you begin to see that it's a very broad set of information and data that you will need to take a look at. So what are today's three key takeaways? Number one, I think we're about to see an explosion of M&A. Two, if a company claims AI as a part of their growth strategy, is it true? And three, take a deep dive into the data. Don't simply get turned on by the next shiny thing. One of the things that I'm happy to do for you, the compliance profession, is if you have a question or a series of questions you would like some compliance tips on, I'm happy to take any requests that you might want, certainly anonymize them, and give you a quick tip. Either one quick tip or maybe a week's worth of quick tips. So if you have any tips you want about your compliance program, you can shoot me an email at tfox@tfoxlaw.com. This podcast was created and produced with the assistance of AI.